In today's episode, we're speaking to the female money doctor, Dr. Nikki Ramskill. Dr. Nikki is a certified money coach and runs an award-winning blog, thefemalemoneydoctor.com, the only doctor to be featured in the top 25 feed spot list of personal finance blogs in the UK and highlighted in Plum's top 5 personal finance blogs for female financial independence. Nikki approaches financial education from a health and well-being perspective to help women from all over the world to improve their mental health and well-being through getting organized with their finances, learning how to invest for retirement, and transforming their money mindset so they can build wealth for the future they truly deserve. Let's find out how Nikki, Dr. Nikki, changed her mindset to change her life. Let's find out. Welcome. This is Gull, your money mindset expert. And today I'm so excited. We have the amazing Dr. Nikki. Welcome, Dr. Nikki.
Hi, thanks for having me.
And Dr. Nikki is just up the road to me. Literally, she's about 50, 60 miles from you, which is amazing. Dr. Nikki, everyone's heard how amazing you are in the intro, but please, in your own words, share with everybody what it is that you do.
Okay, so in a nutshell, I am a GP working for the NHS, but I'm also a money coach. So
oh, wow.
Blend the two things together, yeah.
Wow, that's the first time I came across somebody who's a GP and a money coach. I'm a lawyer and a money coach. She's a doctor and a money coach. How funny. Awesome. So thank you so much for being here today, Dr. Nikki. But Dr. Nikki, how did you, I mean, this is such two very different professions. How did you go from being a GP and a money coach? How did that work out for you? Where did your journey start and why did you end up being a money coach?
So for me, I see money and our health very intimately intertwined. So for me, it's not a massive stretch, but I appreciate it. Seems like a really strange combination. So essentially, I started off by having a really bad relationship with money. So when I turned 30, I had a bit of a sort of crisis at work, crisis in my life, needed to have some time out, took a year off because I was so burnt out. I needed time out. And on that year off, I went traveling. And I think I was kind of running away from my problems, but also just really wanting to do something other than having just been to university and worked and studied and everything. It was just really dull. So when I went traveling for 5 months, I had lots of time to think. And I also had lots of time to see my bank account go down and down and down. So all my savings that I'd built for that 5-month trip were like a drop in the ocean. They were nowhere near enough because I was still paying for my bills at home as well because I had bought half of a flat. I bought one of those shared ownership things. So I literally could see my money going down. It was really scary. And when I actually looked into my numbers, I realized I was in a huge amount of debt. And
wow.
It was something that I hadn't kind of been aware of, but not really sat down and worked it out. So when I worked out how much debt I was in, I mean, I was in 5 figures worth of debt. And if you included my student loan, it would be 6 figures worth of debt. It was a ridiculous amount of money. And I had to really do a lot of soul searching to find out, why did that happen? How did I let it happen? How can I fix it? So when I got back from my trip, I did a lot of reading, listening to podcasts, all sorts of stuff to try and help myself. In the end, paid for courses and coaches and things because I just couldn't do it all on my own. And when I went back to work after my gap year, my adult gap year, I decided to become a GP. So I was a hospital doctor at the point where I left, and then I became a GP. So I was a women's health specialist, and I wanted to take that into general practice, but also I knew I wanted to do something more than just medicine. I just didn't know what it was yet, but I knew that I could do that with being a GP. Yeah. So I didn't know what was going to happen until I started realizing that my colleagues and my patients had money problems, and it was affecting their health. So they couldn't take time off of work because they couldn't afford to,
of course,
whatever it was. And that really struck me, that money and health are so intertwined. And if you don't have money, you don't have your health. If you don't have your health, you can't get your money. So there's a lot of things that are intertwined there. So I started writing about my own experiences as the female money doctor. I called myself that because, obviously being female, being a doctor, looking after women, it just kind of made sense. And it grew from there. And I didn't even realize that money coaches existed at that point. It was only until somebody pointed it out to me and said, do you know what, you could use your skills and become a money coach. Oh, okay, amazing. So that's kind of where it all came from, really.
And how long ago was that? How, when did this happen?
So I'm 37 now.
7 years ago.
I was 30, when I started doing this. So it's been about 7 years. The Female Money Doctor has been around since 2017. So yeah, it's been a work in progress.
And how have you seen? I mean, I think this is a great place to ask you. I agree with you, by the way. There's the connection between money traumas and health issues is really closely connected together. Not only that, so when I work with people and I deal with and we get phenomenal results. The reason why we get phenomenal results is because we deal with emotional traumas first. And you would understand as a doctor, because emotional traumas causes disease in the bodies are diseased and it causes disease in the body. And a lot of the time, this science has proven that all cancers are caused by emotional traumas at some point in life, which haven't been resolved. So for sure, there is a big connection between the two, not just a superficial level. Well, if you don't have health, you can't make money, and vice versa. If you have money, that you can't have money and have health. You need to have both combined together. And if you lack either, at one point you'll start having suffering in one area of your life. But it's a lot deeper than that, because emotion traumas. And if you don't deal with the emotion traumas, it will not only show up in your money, because I think it shows up money first, but it starts showing up in your health. So fixing your money stories is really, really important. There's always the root cause to that. There's always limiting beliefs, which comes back to some form of trauma somewhere along the lines, as a conscious trauma or something happened to your parents and you just absorbed it as a sponge. Now, how have you seen people's approach to money, especially in COVID and other times? How have you seen? Have you seen the scaremongering happen more, or because the media is constantly feeding us? Yes, that we have this global crisis now. We're on the brink of recession again. I think this causes more trauma, and people go into more scarcity, and they could get really more scared. And because I'm an empath, I pick up a lot of emotions. I've really picked up people they're more scared now than they were during COVID. So how are you finding that? How are you helping your clients with this current climate to stay calm and stay in the abundance mindset rather than going to scarcity? Because it's very easy to go into the scarcity mindset, like, oh my God, the bills are going to go up by 80% in the 1st of October. We know this in UK, but it's not just UK, it's global. It's the energy crisis is global. The food price is global. The inflation is global. So how are you helping your clients to stay centered and focus more on having the abundance mindset?
Yeah, I actually did a session on this not so long ago, where I spoke about how to sort of hold on to your mental health during this crisis, and indeed any crisis. It's not just this one. But one of the biggest things is to turn off that media wheel, that thing that keeps feeding into the fear. Because we're seeing it on social media, we're seeing it on news, we're seeing it in our emails, we're seeing it on billboards. It's literally everywhere. And it's so hard to escape that if all you're seeing all the time is the negative energy. So I literally just turn off your news, turn off everything on your social media that's actually making you feel bad, and have some kind of morning routine where you're working on yourself rather than jumping straight into a triggering social media feed or something like that. So for me, it's all about not necessarily becoming Pollyanna and pretending everything's amazing and everything's going to be fine, because we know life is not like that. We know that things go wrong. But it's about putting more of a positive spin on things, putting more positivity back into your life again, focusing on what's important and focusing on yourself, as opposed to, focusing on all the things in the world that you can't change and makes you feel completely vulnerable and powerless. So that's the nuts and bolts of what I spoke about.
I mean, and that's serious advice. I do believe, I think everyone should switch off the news. I haven't listened to the news for forever.
Yeah.
And my background is banking finance, so we are told to read the Financial Times, and literally from law school, read Financial Times, especially when you go to corporate law, and God, my goodness, and all the crisis that goes with it. This is going down and that's going down and this company is going to pause. Anyway, I haven't listened to in the news or bought any newspapers for years now. Still, it's now exactly what you said. It's not just the news, but these news media outlets have found other mediums, which is social media. You get bombarded on social media, then you open your phone and you go into Apple News and thingy, BBC News, and those lines, even though you don't want to see it, when you open your phone, the news feed's there, like Apple make this news and this happened, that happened, and you're like, I don't even want the flipping news. Why is it coming up again? But it is. That's the reality of it. And you're right, it's not just there. You go outside and these billboards, be on the bus stands or hanging somewhere. It's all scarcity. We are here to help you. Every little helps, and penny pinching and everything. And I believe you should manage your money well, but I think when you start penny pinching, you're getting to scarcity mindset. You should value your money, but you shouldn't be a penny pincher. But that's where, and everyone's going, and I have heard this phrase so many times. People are choosing between having food and paying electricity. I've heard that so much, and I don't listen to the news. It's even I've picked it up, even though I'm refusing news. How can we switch off? What can we do? Because especially for those people, and some of the people listening to this, the reason why I say this, some of you listening to this will be using the online social media for their work purposes. They have online businesses. Yeah. Myself included. So I am very rarely on social media for anything else other than work purposes. The only time I go onto media, and that's at night time, it's and looking at IG Reels, and then that's easy because my logarithm's filled with all the positivity and whatever, because that's what I listen to. But as soon as I open Facebook, and I have to, because for work purposes, things pop up. And so how can we protect ourselves? What can we do to not let that impact us and not let that impact our mental health? Because it is very stressful. And if everyone's panicking, you're like, oh my God, I should be panicking too. And you don't even think, you end up going panicking. It's the public mentality, like, the group mentality. Everyone else is panicking, I need to panic. And you energetically, if you are looking at it, you tune into the energy, so your energy gets, you get triggered, the energy goes down. So you pick up the negative energy without choosing to.
Yeah, of course.
What can we do to combat this? Because this is going crazy. All we hear about is the lack of food and the energy prices going up.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky one, because obviously I use my social media for business purposes as well. I try to limit what I do, so automate as much as possible, and only go in to respond to comments one or two times a day, and literally will focus on responding to people that have commented on things that I've put out, rather than looking at the general news feed or the general feed as a whole. So limiting your time on it.
Okay.
Doing it as well after you've already focused on your own stuff. So like, I have a morning routine where I wake up and the first thing I do is plan out what's happening for the day. So I know all my appointments for the day, I know what I've got to do, and I've given myself a couple of tasks that I know I need to get done by the end of the day. I'll do a gratitude journal. So I'll literally bullet point 6 or 7 different things that I can feel grateful for, and I might spend a day focusing on my body and focus on the things that I can be grateful for my body. I might spend a day focusing on my local area, or a day focusing on my house, or whatever it is. But when you can start focusing on things that are greater than you, like, I'm grateful for the fact that I actually have electricity, yes, okay, the bills are higher, but if I didn't have electricity, my life would be so much harder.
Yes, agreed.
Wouldn't it? Right. So I focus on gratitude. I listen to a motivational video every morning. So I find one on YouTube that's 5 or 10 minutes long. I'll listen to some abundance affirmations, and then I'm ready to start my day. I don't even look at my social media, and if I do, I tell myself off for it, because that's a very rare thing to do now. But when I do, it's later, and it's when I'm actually got a purpose to go into it. So it's not just mindlessly scrolling. It's right, I'm going in, checking to make sure that no one's answered or responded or said anything to me. No, great, they haven't. Fine, carry on with the day. Do the things that I want to do. So for me, it's about showing the gratitude. It's about being aware of what you already have and what life would be like if you didn't have it. You know, we can be grateful for the NHS in this country. Yes, it has its problems, and yes, we are waiting 18 months or whatever for mental health help, you know, support or whatever it is. But we live in a place that we have free healthcare. Yeah. Could you imagine living somewhere like America where you had to pay for literally everything,
including the ambulance as well? Yeah.
Exactly. Pay, you know, going to a third world country where you've got no healthcare. There's, you know, we've got so many things that we can be grateful for. And the other tip I would include as well is to start learning about things like space, like, you know, literally planets and universe and space, because the more you can see the wonder and the vastness of where we are, like we are a small dot in a
tiny dot.
Thing. Yeah. I went to go and see Brian Cox the other day, and he literally put it into context, and it was just unfathomable how many trillions and trillions of stars are out there that we don't even know exist yet.
And this is our planet, by the way. So we've got our planet is a tiny speck. Forget us, not you and me. Our planet is a tiny speck. Yeah,
he literally showed us a picture of what looked like stars, and he said, "These are not stars; these are galaxies." And those galaxies had millions and billions of stars held within them, which makes you feel incredibly tiny. So when you walk away from a lecture like that, the things don't really bother you anymore. You know, I couldn't even imagine worrying now about who's going to win Love Island when we've got stuff like this going on. You know, you just change your focus from the minutiae of the day and actually have some wonder, have some magic, have some amazement at what's going on around you. It's just incredible.
I love that. I actually love that piece of advice. It actually put things in perspective and realize how small your fears and worries are compared to the cosmos. And it's absolutely true. And I think that also allows you to, you know, I always look upon the stars and the universe. And obviously, I do a lot of research on the multiverse. I have reasons for that. So we know, you know, what we're familiar with is our dimension and our universe, but there are multiverses and there's multiple dimensions and multiple realities. So that's a rabbit hole we can go down another day, but that's true. So we are here in this tiny speck, in this dimension, this reality, in this universe. And so something's holding it together. That, you know, universal mind, whatever name you tag you give it, God, Allah, Subhanahu, Buddha, Rama, whatever name, you know, whatever your name is for it. I call it universal energy because that's, I think, applicable to everyone. And so, you know, that this universal energy, which is taking care of all of this.
Yeah.
Then if that's the case, then that loving energy will take care of you too, and whatever your needs are. And yes, the energy bills are going up, and yes, inflation is high, and this we have. I mean, I think our generation has the experiences because we know anyone who's under 40 doesn't understand that, you know, there used to be inflation which was, you know, really high, and interest rate which 15% or something ridiculous. I think I was a baby when that happened. So it's those sort of things are not you know, are familiar to our generation. So they are panicking, who are now parents and have children. Yet our parents dealt with it. The parents dealt with it beforehand. They've had wars, they've had world wars, and we can get through it. It's this thing that, it's the panic that gets worse. The extra circumstances can be dealt with, and this is what I was trying to get to. We need to stop panicking with what's going on. And actually, we're living in an age where making money is easy. You can make money so many different ways. You can make money through blogs, through YouTube videos, through selling your services, you know, selling your hobbies. If you're really good at something, you can teach someone else how to do it and make money from that. There's so many different ways to make money these days, trading and, you know, whatever else. I think we need to stop focusing on the problems and trying to focus on how we can, you know, find solutions to those problems. I think that's the key. And I love the way you put it. Put things into context, get perspective on things. Look how small we are compared to the universe. And, you know, and realize there's something to do about it. This universal energy can help you. I want to go back to quickly, because we're going to wrap this up very quickly. I just want to go back to quickly the point when you said, you shared this, when you're traveling and, you know, the money you saved for the trip finished like this. How did you not go into panic mode and think, oh my God, you know, I'm an educated person, I'm a doctor, and I've got no money left, you know, what the hell's wrong with me? You know, how did you deal with that? Because I know it's easy for you to look back and say, okay, well, you know, it's okay, I dealt with it. But in that time, in that moment, I know there's self-doubts, there's, you know, there's questions, and you think, I thought I'm smart. This doesn't look like I'm very smart. What have I done? Am I that bad with money? What's going on? You do question yourself.
yeah.
How did you deal with that?
Yeah, I definitely felt a lot of shame around it.
There's a lot of shame. Yeah, there would be. Yeah.
Yeah, there was so much of that because, yeah, you're right. As a professional woman, I should have known better. But when I'm faced with a problem, I tend to take action on things. That's just my money personality. It's just the way that I respond. So I tend to not necessarily take calculated action. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But I took action nonetheless. I did make my situation worse initially before it got better, but I action by reading books, Rich Dad Poor Dad, for example, being one of them, and it completely changed my perspective on, how I saw money. And suddenly, when you change your perspective, you suddenly realize there is a problem that can be fixed. As Marie Forleo says, everything is figure outable, and it totally is. So I suppose in a way just sort of trusted myself that I'd sort it out. I don't always trust myself, but in this situation, it was right. First thing I need to do is get some money coming in. Right. So as soon as I get back from my trip, I'm going to get a job. And I literally, within weeks of coming back, I'd already lined up a job, already had it all set up, and then I started work. Yes, I had moments where I couldn't pay my mortgage, or thought I couldn't pay my mortgage. And I had a couple of days where I panicked because I thought, that's it, my flat's going. But I just phoned up and said, look, my payment's going to be a little bit late because of the trip and everything. And they said, don't worry about it. It's not a problem. We'll just put a note on your file. And it was fine. So I kind of bit the bullet and had to ask people and seek help. And that also really helped as well when you kind of admitted that there was a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I still held a lot back from people. I didn't want to admit to people that I had problems with my money, but I at least took action and actually did the things that I was being taught on the podcast or being taught in the books or being taught by my coaches or whatever. So that's kind of how I got through it.
So taking action, basically, not just sit there and panicking in the state. Get up and take whatever action you can in that moment. I think that's the key takeaway from there. And I totally agree with that. I think the worst thing that you can possibly do is go into inertia in that moment and just sit there and panic and just not do anything and just go in freeze mode.
It's so easy to do, though.
It's so easy to do. Yeah.
It is part of our survival mechanism. It's that adrenaline rush. It's the fight, flight, or freeze. So some people will freeze in those moments, and actually it has been shown scientifically, in lots of different experiments, that people's IQ does drop when they are panicking because the adrenaline kind of floods through your body and stops you from actually being able to make sensible, choices. So that's why a lot of people tend to spend money that they don't have when they don't have any money, because they can't reason properly because they're just panicking about stuff. So it's just slowing it down. I can do this, I can figure this out. I think about stuff you've been able to achieve in the past. So for me it was, I've become a doctor. Like, I've managed to get through 6 years of medical school. I can do this, I can work this out. This is not rocket science. So it's just reminding yourself of the amazing stuff that you've already done, and you can learn this. It's just that you may have never been taught a system, and unfortunately as kids we don't get taught systems, so you need to just learn something that works for you.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so on that note, we're going to wrap up. So Dr. Nikki, tell us, how can we find you on the internet? How can we connect with you?
So I'm on all the different social media channels. I have a YouTube channel as well. So I've always got a podcast. So it just depends on how you like to learn. If you want to come and join my Facebook group, it's called Women Working Towards Money Freedom. But yeah, on the socials, it's Female Money Doc. So if you literally just Google it, whichever your favorite one is, you can find me on there.
Okay, wonderful. But if you are listening to us on the podcast, the links that Dr. Nikki just mentioned will be in the show notes. And if you're watching us on YouTube, then down below in the description section, we'll have the links to her as well. Go check her out. I'm going to. She sounds amazing. And I'm interested to see her perspective on money, being a doctor. And because you hear mine all the time, being a lawyer and a doctor, but I mean, being a lawyer and a money coach. So it's nice to get a different perspective from a doctor's side.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so thank you so much for being our guest today, Nikki. It's been amazing talking to you, but we have to have you back for Money Talkies. But today, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
And thank you for listening to me and Dr. Nikki today on a Friday feature. I will be back with another amazing guest on another Friday feature, finding out how they change their life by changing their mindset. Until the next time we meet, this is Gull signing off. Take care and bye for now.